help me make the bread? Make the bread, make the bread. Will you help me make the bread?
Yes, yes, yes.
Charlotte and I are so excited to be making bread with you today. And if you think it's kind of silly that we're making bread, and usually we're singing, aren't we? It's because we shared a Little Red Hen story and video with you last week, and we thought it would be fun to share our bread recipe because Charlotte and I love making bread together. Do you like to make bread or work in the kitchen? The first thing we need is warm water. So we have 2.5 cups of water, and feel how warm it is. It's gotta be warm, about like a baby's bottle warm, maybe a tiny bit warmer. And then we're gonna pour that in our bowl. Can you pour it in? And then with our warm water, we're gonna add a tablespoon or just a tiny bit less of yeast. And you can kind of sprinkle that on top. Can you sprinkle that on top? Okay, so we've got our yeast, and now we're gonna let that set aside, and the yeast is gonna start working, it's gonna start bubbling. And so we're gonna just let that sit for a minute. And now you know what we're gonna do. Who will help me grind the wheat? Grind the wheat, grind the wheat. Who will help me grind the wheat? Cluck, cluck, cluck. All right, so we're gonna show you 2 ways to grind wheat. And this is optional, and you might not have a wheat grinder, and that's okay. But it's kind of fun to see our wheat berries making flour. And there's flour coming out right here. And I'll show you, it takes a long time to grind the wheat into flour. There's another way to grind wheat, and I use my blender. And this actually works really well for small batches of wheat grinding. So we're gonna put a cup in, but it's really loud. Can you reach that?
Sure.
Okay, now we've got enough flour to make our bread, and let's go and check on our yeast. So we can grab our bowl. You can smell it. Can you smell it? And you can see it's kind of bubbling and it's starting to work. All right, now we're gonna start adding our ingredients. And so for this recipe, we're gonna use 1 egg. Can you crack that and put that in? Okay, we rinsed our hands or washed our hands after cracking the egg. And the next thing we're gonna add is our oil. And for this, the good thing about bread is it's actually really forgiving. So for this recipe, calls for 1/2 of a cup. So I'm not sure how many tablespoons that is, but I just take my 1/3 cup measure and I put my oil in about halfway filled. And then I do the same amount for honey. And this trick I learned from my mom. You always do the oil first, and then that will help the honey slide right out. So I'm gonna get my 1/3 cup measure. I'm gonna fill it maybe a little more than halfway. And then we're gonna pour that in. And then we're gonna take our honey, and we're gonna do about the same amount. Can you hold that over the bowl? And then this will keep the honey from sticking to your cup. How's that? Is that about right? So about the same amount of honey as oil, and then that should slide right out. Okay. All right, then we're gonna add our salt. Can you hold the spoon? That's perfect, that's good. All right, hold the spoon. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon of salt. Any kind of salt's fine. Okay, and then we're gonna do 1/2 cup of oats. And I'm using old-fashioned oats.
Oats? Like horses.
Horses like oats, don't they? 1/2 cup of oats. It can be quick oats or old-fashioned oats, whatever you have on hand. And the oats act, as far as I understand, as a type of preservative for your wheat. So your homemade wheat bread is not gonna last as long as your store-bought wheat bread, but this is gonna help a little bit. Okay, we are gonna show you 2 different ways to mix up your bread. If you have a mixer, we're gonna do that first, and if you don't have a mixer, it's okay, we're gonna show you by hand. So first, we're gonna start adding our whole wheat flour. And my favorite ratio is about 1/2 and 1/2. I do a little bit more whole wheat flour and a little bit less white flour. And it's pretty flexible, so you can do all whole wheat if you want, but if you do wanna do all whole wheat, you're gonna wanna add some Vital Wheat gluten. That's just like an extra thing you've gotta store in the fridge. But you can do this bread 100% whole wheat if you do that. So we're gonna do 1/2 and 1/2, so we're not gonna need that extra ingredient. So why don't you start pouring this in? So for this recipe calls for 6 cups of flour. So we're gonna do 3 or maybe,
I can do it.
you got it? We're gonna start with 3 cups of whole wheat. Maybe we'll do like 3.5. Okay, so we've got about 3.5 cups of whole wheat flour in there, and now we're just gonna start mixing. Can you turn the mixer on, Charlotte?
Number 1.
Put it on the number 2. Very good.
Tell me what's the number.
All right, let's see. Oh, we didn't get that tightened in there. Okay, you can turn it up.
Up?
Yep.
All the way up?
Sure. I guess I should have showed you we put the bread hook on here. All right, so we've got that mixed in, and then we're gonna start adding our white flour. And don't add the full 6 cups yet, because depending on how much liquid you have in there and how much oil and honey, it might take a little bit less or a little bit more. So we're gonna add 2 cups right now, and then we'll add the last little bit once we start mixing. And as you can see, this is not an exact science at my house. Here you go. Okay. Nope, put it down. Turn it on.
Lock the hook.
Lock it. Turn it on. Turn it on slowly after you add that flour.
You didn't say the number.
That's gonna be funny on the video.
Did you?
All right, we're gonna get her cleaned up. I didn't tell her the number. Just turn it on to a number 2 this time, okay? Not all the way when you've got lots of flour in there. So you want to let that mix until it's all combined. Okay, so the trick with adding the flour, the last bit of flour is
Joey.
you want to wait. You want to add flour until the dough starts cleaning the sides of the bowl and coming into coming into a group, and it's not left sticky on the sides of the bowl. So actually it looks like we don't need to add any more right now. And the thing is, you can always add more flour once you take it out of the bowl onto the counter. If it's sticky on your hands, you can add more once you're kind of kneading it and making your loaves. But if you get it too dry, then it's hard to fix. So you want to err on the side of a little bit stickier if you're not quite sure. And you can let it mix in your mixer for, I don't know, like 5 minutes or so, but you want to let it mix for a while. That's the kneading. It's kneading it right now. Okay, so we've been letting it mix for a while, and it cleaned the side of our bowl. Now we're going to feel it and see what we think. Oh, it feels pretty good. So you want it to be, it is a little bit sticky.
Can I try
You can try a little taste, I guess, if you want. You don't want it to be super, super sticky. But again, so now we're going to set this one to the side. And this is another thing where I really love that bread is kind of flexible, is that if I need to, I can set it with either some saran wrap on top, careful honey, or just like a towel with maybe a little bit damp towel, and set it in a warm place, and it can rise here in the bowl if you would like, or you can put the loaves together in your loaf pans right away. So you can do it either way, either 2 rises or just 1 rise. So this one we're gonna set aside, we're gonna cover it and set it in a warm spot while we show you how to do it without a mixer. If you don't have a mixer, we can just do it by hand. So this is our bowl with all of our ingredients.
If you want to taste the soup.
You want to taste the soup? Don't taste the soup. Ew. So it has everything except for the flours in it already.
You didn't say eggs.
Oh, and an egg, right. Okay, so it has all that stuff. So now we're gonna start adding our flour. Same thing, we're gonna start with our whole wheat flour, because that needs to get mixed a little bit better. This is gonna be your arm workout for today, making bread. That's what my mom used to say. Get her arm workout in. All right, you need help for a little bit?
No.
Nope, you're good? Okay.
I'm making pancakes.
We're making bread, you nut.
There's a pen.
Try to get all that in there.
And I'm going to keep mixing.
Okay, you can keep mixing. We're going to start adding our white flour. Doing great. All right, here we go. Now we're going to start adding our white flour. All right, let's do 1. We're going to mix that in, and then we'll see. Mix, mix, mix. Who will help me mix the dough? Mix the dough, mix the dough. Who will help me mix the dough? Cluck, cluck, cluck. Charlotte, you're a good mixer. Let me have a turn. My turn.
And I'll keep mixing once you're done, Mom.
Okay.
Oh, you're very good.
Oh, thank you. We're going to add another cup of flour.
Now mix.
Can I help you mix? My turn for a second.
Sure.
We'll do your turn, my turn. All right, how's it looking? Is it starting to look like bread dough?
It looks like pancakes.
Does it look like pancakes? You got pancakes on the brain. We've been reading a book about a girl who loves pancakes, huh? Okay, so now once you start mixing in, so we've got 5 cups of flour in there. It's starting to get kind of hard to mix, and we're about ready to roll it out on the counter and add the last bit on the counter. So I'm gonna sprinkle some flour on the counter. Can you mix that around for me? We're gonna sprinkle some flour out here. You ready? And we're gonna put flour on our hands. Let me see your hands. We're gonna put flour on our hands. And we're gonna pour this out. We think we have a whole nother cup, so I'm gonna.
Is that a lot of flour?
I'm gonna get my cup of flour ready.
Flour hands.
Flour hands. And we're gonna pour this out. Wait. Here, hang on a second. I'm gonna do this first part so we figure out how much flour we're gonna add. So I'm gonna start adding. I'm gonna add maybe like 1/3 of a cup at a time.
I'm gonna put all the flour on the bread.
And then I'm gonna start trying to mix it in together and kind of kneading it. Put that in there. So it's gonna be kind of sticky. You don't want it to get too sticky on your hands, so you want to add flour till it gets to the right consistency. And it might take a few times to do it. Now when you're doing it by hand, it's easy to add too much flour. So you want to be careful you don't add too much. So we're gonna mix it together. So here, I'm gonna split this in half so you can help me knead. Okay?
What is knead?
This is what we're gonna do right now. Are you ready? Here you go. So you're gonna put flour on here. Now watch, when I take my bread, I'm gonna push my heels of my hands and push it away from me, and then scoop it together and push it. And mine's getting kind of sticky, so I'm gonna add some more.
Me too.
Yep. Then we're gonna start kneading that in. You're gonna push it and scoop it and push it and turn it. Can you turn it? You're gonna flip it over. So push
I can
it,
do it.
and turn it over. You're gonna push it. There you go. Turn it over. Nice job. All right, switch. All right, we're gonna push it and turn it. You try to work all that flour into your bread dough. Oh, this one's kind of sticky, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. It's getting kind of sticky.
Mine too.
It's sticking to the heels of my hands. Yours getting kind of sticky too. So getting the right consistency is a little bit tricky, but you'll get the hang of it as you start to feel it. And add a little bit more. How's yours? Is yours sticky?
Yep. Super sticky.
Super sticky? Put a little bit more on there.
Hey!
Whoop, sorry. We'll do one of our loaves cinnamon bread. Maybe
And I'm gonna help. too.
Okay, should we show our friends that way too? Maybe they'll want to see. This
Yeah,
video
because
might end up being
never
just
makes-
really long and boring. I don't know. But it's kind of fun making bread with you, Charlotte. Great job. Can you push your hands like this? Watch. These are the heels of your hands. Let me show you the heels of your hands right here. You're going to push those in. Push. Push it like this. And then you're going to turn it just a little bit like this and fold it over. Yep. And then you're going to bring it back and push this way. Push. Yep. And push. And then turn it and fold it. There you go. Good job. Okay, we're getting kind of sticky. We're cleaning this counter off. Let's put some more on. So now we're about ready. And you can either put it in your bowl. I would clean out your bowl and maybe put a tiny bit of oil inside and put your dough back in if you're gonna let it rise again. Don't put it in the dirty bowl now, but we're just gonna go ahead and show you how to put them in loaf pans now, and we'll make a batch of, we'll make one cinnamon bread. Yeah. Now when I put my bread in pans, I like to kind of make it a nice loaf, so I kind of smush it out like this, and then I roll it up.
I can roll.
Yep, can you roll it? There we go. And then I tuck the sides in and kind of tuck the bottom in. And look, and our loaf looks so pretty. We stick it right in there. Then we're gonna cover it with saran wrap, with sprayed saran wrap. Cover it so that when the bread rises, it doesn't stick to the saran wrap, okay? You wanna roll that out? And this is super, super easy. It makes a yummy treat. We eat it just with butter or, oh, careful. Just gonna roll it. You're gonna roll it out. Let me help you a little bit. Let's roll. Let's roll it this way. There you go. Push it kind of hard. We're gonna get it into like a rectangle. No, you're gonna do this part. Then we're just gonna spread some butter, some softened butter on there. Do you want to spread?
If you want it to be yum, you don't add cinnamon.
Okay, it's a couple tablespoons of butter, and then sprinkle white sugar on top. Sprinkle all around a little bit more. Make sure you get it to all the edges. And then you just sprinkle cinnamon, and then we're gonna roll it up. We wanna make sure we get cinnamon and sugar and butter on all the parts. Now we're gonna roll it up. We're gonna do this part together. You ready? You do this side and I'll do this side. You do this side, I'm gonna do this side. I'm gonna carefully roll it. Make sure it doesn't stick to your counter. Okay, there we go. And then at the end, we're going to kind of pinch it. We're gonna pinch the ends. Look right here. No, look right here. The seam. We're gonna pinch the seam so it sticks together. So this one ended up being a little bit bigger, so I'm gonna stick this in our bigger bread pan, but you could squish it in a smaller one if you wanted. And then we're gonna set this to the side, cover it with saran wrap, and let it rise until it puffs up and it looks like the shape of the loaf. We'll show you that in a sec. Okay, here's the bread all covered and rising. We got 5 loaves out of those 2 batches. All right, this is what our bread looks like after 1 hour of rising today. So it looks really nice. And my oven is preheated to 350. And we're gonna put them in the oven for 30 minutes. Okay, our 30 minutes are up and it looks perfect. I'm gonna pull them out. Right, we pulled our bread out of the oven, and don't forget, we did 2 batches of bread. So we were able to get 5 loaves, and they're all kind of different shaped, and they're not perfect because I didn't measure them out ahead of time, but they'll still turn out great. I wanted to cut into our cinnamon bread so you can see what it looks like on the inside. And this is what my kids are gonna have for a snack today. It's hot and so delicious. So you can see there's a little cinnamon swirl. And it does kind of fall apart a little bit, especially when it's hot. But you can see our cinnamon swirl on the inside. We like it with butter or cream cheese.
I like it
really
with
good.
butter.
You like it with butter? Well, I hope that you had fun watching our bread video. I hope you'll try making your own bread. And if you do, will you send me a picture of you making bread? All right, should we sing one last song?
Yeah.
Who will help me eat the bread? Eat the bread, eat the bread. Who will help me eat the bread? Cluck, cluck, cluck. Should we eat it up? You want to take a bite? Here you go.